Hi, welcome to episode 96 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. My name is Mina and I'll be your host today. Today is Wednesday, the 8th of February 2017. I'm coming to you from my home in New York, and it still sounds weird to say that. I live here with my husband, our two cats, and we are expecting our first baby any day now. More about that later. But yeah, so we've recently relocated to the US and we're living in New York, and yeah, so we've only just about settled into our apartment, and yeah, things are finally coming together, and it's just a really nice feeling to feel quite settled now, which is good, with the baby coming and everything as well. So that's that. Hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this podcast each and every week. It really means a lot to me that you decide to spend however long each week watching. Whether you watch the full episode or just watch for the knitting, that's fine either way. And I was going to say thank you to everyone who introduces themselves in the introductions thread. I don't have time to reply to everybody individually, but I do love hearing about where you're from, what you're doing, your knitting journey, how you got to where you are. And I do try and click the love button on the post to let you know that I've read them, but like I said, I don't have a lot of time to sit there and reply to everyone individually as much as I would like to. I think I am up to date on replying to messages. I have a feeling there are a few that I've forgotten to reply to, but I can't remember which ones they are, so I'm really sorry if I haven't replied to your message. I have read them all. If you send me a private message on Ravelry, I have read them all, and I thought I replied to most of them, but I have a feeling, like I said, that there are a few that have slipped through the cracks in all of the craziness that's been going on. So I apologise if I've not replied to you. But I think I've replied to everyone whose messages required, who had a question about something. So I think I've replied to all those types of questions. Anyway, I am now 38 weeks and 5 days pregnant. I have 9 days left to my due date, although I know that due dates mean nothing really. About 5% of babies are actually born on their due date, so I know it means nothing, but she's basically ready to go whenever she wants, really. So it's just a matter of waiting now. The other thing I wanted to mention was a massive thank you to everybody who bought patterns from me last week. We managed to raise an incredible amount of money, and Perry and I made a donation to the ACLU last week at the weekend, and that was just really, really nice, really lovely to be able to do that and be able to like sort of contribute something quite tangible and meaningful, and hopefully that will go some way towards helping the current situation. I'm not going to dwell on politics and stuff this week. I said my piece last week, and yeah, I will just leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything more about it, but there we go. A couple of other quick announcements. The sock pattern club that I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, the ebook is now available for purchase on Ravelry. I say for purchase, it's more like a pre-order / purchase. So you purchase the ebook, and there's only one pattern in there at the moment, which is Mina's vanilla sock recipe, and so that's like the bonus pattern that comes with the ebook. And then at the beginning of the month, each month, a new pattern will be released for the club. So it's kind of like a mystery club, but at the same time you kind of get the whole, there are 7 patterns out throughout the year. The last pattern will be released at the beginning of September. All the details for the club, information, how it works, the breakdown on costs and stuff like that, I've done a separate video on my channel, which should be the video before this one, and I will link it in the show notes. There is also a chatter thread in the group for the sock pattern club, and the video is embedded in the first post there. And yeah, so please feel free to pop along, check it out if you're interested. You can purchase the pattern club. At the moment there's an early bird pricing going for now, and until the first pattern is released. Sorry, so until the end of February there's early bird pricing, and then then the price goes up a little bit for the duration of the club, and then at the end of the club it goes up to its full price. Those who have already purchased the Beyond Vanilla, sorry, not Beyond Vanilla, the Vanilla Sock Recipe, will have received a code on Sunday that I sent out as a Ravelry update message. The pattern hasn't been updated. The update message was just to deliver the code to everybody who's purchased the pattern, and that gives you a little bit of extra money off the club price, because the vanilla pattern is supposed to be free, so it gives you the cost of the vanilla pattern off the club price. And that's already been sent out to everyone who's purchased the pattern. So that was that. I'm just trying to check and make sure there's everything I've covered. There's a coupons code thread in the group as well, so make sure you check that out if you want to save a little bit of money whilst shopping for yarn, project bags, other fibre related goodness. And I'm also now going to do, at the top of the episode, I'm going to do the prize winners announcements. Normally I would do that after the knitting segment, but because I'm kind of hoping to get these prizes out as soon as possible, and I didn't really want to do a separate video, so I'm going to do it at the top of this episode now. And this is prizes for the Cozy Schlanket Mystery Knit Along and for the 12,000 subscriber giveaway. So if you entered into either of those, then please watch this section and let me know, get in touch with me as soon as possible if you're the winner, or if you are a winner. And if not, and you're not interested in watching the prize drawings, then I will pop up a timestamp, hopefully somewhere around here on the screen for you, so you can skip ahead to the knitting. So first up, the Cozy Schlanket Mystery Knit Along winners. We had 3 patterns to give away. The first 2 were sock patterns by Verena, who's the Wool Club. First is the mistletoe socks, and I drew all these numbers with random number generator, so to save time I did it all ahead of time. So the mistletoe socks pattern is going to go to Grey Hannah. Congratulations, that's Hannah, and her entry was entry number 54. Then the mirror work socks pattern was won by Jules BR, that's Julie, and she was post number 201. So congratulations, Julie. And then we also had a shawl or wrap pattern by Amy Meeks, who's from the Periscoping Sisters podcast, and that was won by Real Yankee, and that's Jean, and she was post number 177. So congratulations to you 3. If you can please get in touch with me on Ravelry, then I will get in touch with the designers to get your patterns sent to you. Then we had some physical prizes. So first up, this yarn and mini skein set from Geektastic Fibres, and this went to post number 264, and that's Kittenster, that's Brenna. I'll pop that up on the screen for you. So congratulations, Brenna. The next prize package was the Malabrigo and Malabrigo worsted and some Let Lopi, and that was won by post number 15, and that's Rhonda, and her Ravelry name is RSJTA. She actually finished 2 Schlankets, so quite early on, because both of her posts were back to back. So congratulations, you are clearly a deserved winner, and well done on making 2 in the time frame. Quite a few people actually managed to finish 2 Schlankets during the knit along, so I was really impressed by that. And the final winner, who will win the double, the 2 skeins of Rowan and project bag, is Knitty Mish Karen, and that's Karen, post number 326. Knitty Mish Karen. So congratulations. So if you 3 physical prize winners, if you guys can get in touch with me as soon as possible, then I can get those out in the mail to you as soon as possible as well. I may be able to do it this weekend, depending how quickly you get in touch with me. So those were the prizes for the Cozy Schlanket Mystery Knit Along. I've closed their finished objects thread, but the chatter thread is still open. If you want to keep chatting and sharing photos and stuff, by all means go ahead. And then for the 12,000 subscriber giveaway, I had 2 prizes. I put 2 prize packages together because I felt that share the love a little bit more. So the first prize is first one I'm drawing for is this one. I showed you the contents of it last week. It's one of the TARDIS project bags that I've made in like the small sock size. There's 2 skeins of Northbound Knitting on the DK on her MCN base in the Metallurgy colorway, which is a really popular colorway of hers, and some fruit tea as well. So the winner for this one, and so the prompt that I put in the thread was just to tell me something nice that's happened to you recently, because there's been so much negativity and stuff in the world lately. I just thought it'd be nice to put some positivity out there. And so the winner for the first package was post number 149, and that's Bisaloo from Vancouver. So congratulations, you didn't have your name on Ravelry, which is fine, but Bisaloo number 149. And she said, after trying numerous times to purchase the cozy blanket pattern with rejections from PayPal, finally it worked on Saturday. I'm so sorry you had such trouble with that. And she says, I have the yarn and look forward to making one for my dear auntie and one for myself. This will be my first ever knit for me by me. Yay! That is awesome. So I hope you'll enjoy knitting that pattern, and I hope you'll enjoy this prize. So if you can please get in touch with me with your details, I can get that out to you. And the second prize package was for this bundle with sock yarn, and again project bag and some other goodies. And the winner of this one was post number 372, Spins a Good Yarn, and that's Debbie from Pennsylvania. And she says, something nice that has happened to her this year is that I have gotten my sock mojo back. My last pair of socks took me 1.5 years to finish. And she says she's just finished my new vanilla sock recipe pattern with the mini gusset and knitted them toe up, and she really enjoyed the pattern. She says she really enjoyed the pattern and can't wait to start another pair. So it seems rather appropriate that you won the sock yarn package for that one. So yeah, thank you so much for taking part and entering for those giveaways. I do have one new giveaway to announce later this episode, but I'll get to that later. And okay, I think that is it for giveaways and announcements and stuff like that. I'm going to move on to finished objects. First up, I have 2 finished objects, but only one to show you. So the first finished object I have to show you is a pair of socks, and this is actually going to be the first month. This pair of socks for the first month of the sock pattern club. So I'm only going to show you the back of the sock where you can't see the pattern. And so I've been showing this for the last couple of weeks now. This is beautiful yarn from Gabby, who is the dyer behind Once Upon a Corgi, and she has the Once Upon a Corgi podcast as well if you want to check that out. And this is her Oswald from Mayer colorway on her Marie Cutie base, which is a Corriedale nylon, 75% Corriedale, 25% nylon base. It's a more rustic feeling yarn than merino, but it's by no means like scratchy or anything like that. And I absolutely love how the texture pattern on this one has worked up with this yarn. This is a pattern that will work on most yarns pretty well. I think it would work quite well for a variegated, for a tonal, even for a self-striping. I think this would look quite nice. But it works really nice, and I really enjoyed knitting on this. So yeah, that was really fun. And I knit these actually a little bit different than my usual. I knit these toe up, and I was talking about, and I knit them consecutively, or concurrently rather, sorry. But I have to say, I'm not a massive fan of toe up knitting. It's fine, it works. I wanted to make sure that the heel instructions, I know plenty of people have now knit the modified heel flap adjustment with the toe up instructions that I have in the Beyond Vanilla, vanilla recipe sock. But I wanted to make sure that it definitely worked and on an actual sock that I'd knit, so I felt more confident about it being in my patterns. And I just wanted to give toe up one more try, make sure it definitely wasn't for me, and it really isn't. I have nothing against toe up, and I probably will do it again at some point. It's just not, I can see the appeal of doing toe up with something like handspun, where you want to make sure you get the most out of your yarn. But as a general sort of day-to-day method of knitting socks, I prefer to start at the cuffs, because I find the cuffs the most boring part of the sock, and I'd rather get that done straight away. The ribbing at the top. So I'd rather get that done. But anyway, I really enjoyed working with the yarn, and like I said, I really enjoyed how the texture's shown up on these. So yeah, I'm really excited about the first pattern. The second project that I finished but don't have to show you is the mini skein shawl design that I was working on for the last few weeks. that's finished now, and I've blocked it and it's laying out to dry in the baby's room right now. But I don't have it, I can't show it to you. But I'll show you the yarn one more time, just so you can be reminded what that was. So it actually didn't use as all of the yarn, but it's still a massive shawl, so not an issue. So the background or main color is this Cascade Heritage sock in just a simple grey color. It's color number 5660. It's just this light grey and just a good neutral. And then for the gradient, I use this gradient set. If I can find a way to get these all. Okay, like finger puppets. There we go, those are the colours, and it's Wonderland Yarns, the Cheshire Cat base. It's their fingering weight yarn, 128 yards per 1 ounce mini skein, and there were 5 mini skeins in the pack, so 640 yards total, 100% superwash merino. And I have about 6 to 7 grams of each left over. And my mini skeins actually only started, they weren't, so 1 ounce is about 28 grams, and my mini skeins were about 27-ish grams when I first got them, so they were slightly light. And I still had about 6-7 grams left over, so I only used about 20 grams of each for the shawl. So you'll only need about 100 to 110 yards of yarn in each colour if you're going to knit it exactly the way that I've knit it. The beauty of this shawl, and I sort of realised this as I was working on the design and started knitting it, is that it is so flexible, it is so customizable. Everything is done in 4-row repeats, which is amazing, and I love that. It just means that you can chop and change where you put things. You don't have to follow a specific set of patterns, these pattern guidelines. I will, in the pattern, include just the general recipe and how you can modify it and like completely do it customized to how you would like it. And then I will also include specific instructions on how to knit it exactly the way that I've knit it for the sample. But the beauty of this, I think it would work great for handspun, where you have like different size minis, and it will also work well for a variety of colors. Like you could do it with more than 5 colors. If you only had 10 gram minis, you could do it with 10 gram minis versus 5 20 gram minis or something like that. And you know what, you could knit this shawl so many times and never knit it the same way twice. That's what I love about it, and it's just so flexible. And I can't wait to share it to you and share it with everyone, because I'm so excited by this particular pattern and how it's worked up. Sorry, if you can't tell, I'm quite excited about it. And I was really eager to get it finished so I could get the pattern drafted and tech edited and stuff before the baby arrives. That way I'm hoping to get it released in March. So we will see. Then moving on to works in progress. I have made no progress on my pinwheel scrap blanket at all lately, which is fine. That's kind of one of those projects that I kind of come back to every now and again, and I imagine I'll probably pick it up a bit more once the baby's here, because it's quite a mindless knit and easy to do. It's small, it's portable. I don't have to think too hard when I work on it, and it'll be an easy one to pick up and put down. So it's one of the ones I'm planning on taking to the hospital with me. Speaking of hospital knitting, the first work in progress I have to show you here is another one that I'm planning on taking to the hospital. This is a loosely inspired by the sock head hat, I guess. I didn't really follow a pattern. I'm knitting it out of, I'll show you the yarn first, Handmade in Casbah in the vintage colorway. This is a sport weight yarn. It's 115 grams, 4 ounces, is 325 meters or 355 yards, and it's hand dyed in Canada. It's a 81% merino, 9% cashmere, 10% nylon, and it's this beautiful sort of maroon burgundy sort of base color, and then it's got bits of blues, yellows, oranges, pinks, greens, sort of like rainbowy colors in there as well. And I started, it looks really tiny, but it does like stretch out and it will fit over my head, don't worry. It's just because it's on small circulars. So I just started knitting the ribbing. You can see how it's sort of striping a little bit there. And yeah, so I was aiming to cast on 120, but I ran out of my tail yarn after 112, so I just did 112. And I knit about 4.5 inches of 2x2 rib, and then I've increased up to 140 stitches, all on US 3s, so 3.25mm needles. And then from here I'm just going to knit plain stockinette for another 5 to 7 inches depending on how I feel. And I didn't do a folded brim on this one because it's a lighter weight hat. I wanted to have the option to either have the brim folded or not folded, so I left it unfolded. I didn't seam the brim closed because for winter months or when it's colder I could have it folded, and when it's a bit warmer and I don't need the extra thickness I don't have to have it folded. So I'm going to do this nice and long and slouchy, kind of like the socket hat. Like I said, loosely inspired by it. And yeah, and this is going to be another thing I take to the hospital because it's just stockinetting around and I don't have to think about it. And because it's just round and round knitting, you know, it's not like you have to get to an end of a row to stop. You can stop whenever and you're not going to like mess up the work or anything. So another mindless knit for the hospital. I've had a few people comment and say that, oh, you're not going to have any time to knit at the hospital, you're not going to do any knitting or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I appreciate that that's probably going to happen and I may not get any knitting done, but what's the harm in taking it with me? Like, why is that such a problem? I'm going to be in hospital for about 2 days after the baby's born, and they sleep a lot. I mean, I know I'm going to be sleep deprived and awake a lot and doing stuff with the baby a lot during the time that I'm there, but I'm basically going to be stuck in hospital for 2 days. And there are going to be times that I imagine that I'm not going to have anything to do. So having a bit of, and if I have the brain power and I have the wherewithal to want to knit, then I want to have some knitting with me. So, but that's why I'm taking very simple projects. And it doesn't matter if I don't get around to it, at least I have the option to. I know I've like over prepared and over packed in terms of stuff for the hospital, but I'd rather have too much stuff with me than not enough stuff and then wish I'd brought something. So that's my thinking behind it. And right, so next up, my next work in progress, and you'll notice a theme here. I've done a lot of ribbing this last couple of days. I wanted to get a bunch of projects on the needles and past the initial stage, i.e. the ribbing, get past the initial stage so that, you know, if the baby did come along, I had a few different things to pick and choose from depending on my mood and what I felt like knitting on at the time, and not having to think about starting a new project from scratch sort of thing, just having a few things on the go. So this next project is out of Neighborhood Fibre Company on their Studio Worsted base, which is 100% superwash merino. It's a 400 yards per 8 ounce skein, so it's a hefty skein of yarn in the colour Del Rey. I don't know if you can see that tag there. This is the yarn. Really beautiful sort of sunshiny yellow colours. And I have started a Mariam hat for my mum. And the Mariam hat, or the Mariam collection anyway, was inspired by my mum's sister, my Aunt Mariam, which I designed last year, sort of in memory of her. There was a lot of cables and stuff in it, because she's the one person in my mum's family, out of a lot of her sisters, a lot of my mum's sisters and a bunch of my cousins know how to knit and have knit and stuff like that. But my Aunt Mariam was the one I've always associated as being the knitter. And I have so many, my mum has so many hand knit things that she's made for me and for my brother when we were little, that she's kept. So yeah, so it was always quite special, and I always associated her as being the knitter. And she passed away a few years ago from Alzheimer's, complications due to Alzheimer's. So I was always really sad that I never got a chance to learn how to knit from her, or she never got to see me as a knitter. But so I designed these patterns sort of in memory of her, and I'd given the original samples of the hat and the cowl to my mum, but due to circumstances and certain things happening in certain ways, but anyway, she lost the hat. She got really upset, and I said I'd knit her a new set, hat and cowl set, to match. So there should be more than plenty in here for a matching hat and cowl. I've just started the hat, done the folded brim. It's nice and squishy in this beautiful sunshiny yellow. And again, the sunshine yellow is because this was like, so that sort of amber yellow colour was my Aunt Mariam's favourite colour, and it's also my mum's favourite colour. So yeah, a bit of background there. If you are interested in seeing some of the sort of hand knits that my mum has kept from my Aunt Mariam and like other family members that had knit for me and my brother when we were little, I did actually show a bunch of them off on the really early on in the podcast, episode 9 I believe it was, one that I filmed when I was in London. I'm sorry about all the background noise, it's the city, nothing I can do about that. So yeah, episode 9 of the podcast has me showing off a bunch of the hand knits that my mum has kept. So that's where I am with that. Literally just started the first pattern repeat on that. I am actually hoping to get working on that a little bit and get the hat done, and then get the cowl started as well, because I want to have those ready when my mum gets here. That'd be nice to be able to give them to her when she's here so she can wear them. Then next up, next pair of socks, and this is what I'm hoping will be the pair of socks for the second month. Now I'm not 100% set on the order. I don't actually think it matters what order the patterns come up in for the club. I have an order in my mind. There's no sort of theme to the order. I'm just trying to sort of mix it up a little bit so it's not too much of the I mean, none of the patterns are complicated in the sock club. They're all very simple texture patterns. Some of them might be a little bit more need a little bit more concentration than others, so I'm trying to mix it up a bit so that you're not having all the completely mindless ones at the beginning and all the thinking ones, more thinking ones at the end. I'm trying to sort of jumble it up a little bit so there's variety in there, if that makes sense. So the one that I'm working on now is the one I'm hoping will be for month 2. It is out of Wool and Vine Yarns on her Volca base in Not a Creature Was Stirring, and this was a sort of welcome to New York present from Kristen, so I thought it appropriate to use it for the New York collection of sock patterns. And Kristen is a Brooklyn, New York based dyer, so that also seemed appropriate. Sirens and horns and all sorts going off today. Anyway, so this is how it is currently knitting up. I really love this colorway. The background noise is great, and I've got the windows closed today. I'm literally overheating like crazy, but I've got the windows closed to try and reduce the background noise. But let's just stare at the pretty yarn. How about we do that until that dies down? But yeah, that's what it's currently knitting up as on the back. Like I said, I'm not showing you the front so you don't see the texture. But again, I'm really loving how this texture is working up. It's a very flexible sort of and customizable pattern. Again, this has, there are so many ways you can go with this one as well. And I love it. I love it for that reason, because when I first sort of wrote out the stitch pattern for this one, I kind of just had it one way in my head, and then as I was knitting I was like, oh well, you could do it this way and you could do it that way and stuff like that. So I'm having really a lot of fun with these, and I've, like I said, just cast on the ribbing the other day, and I've just been working on these a little bit this morning and having fun with that. So I'm hoping to get those a bit further along. Those are being knit on 2.25mm high sharps, and I forgot to mention that the hat was being knit on 5mm high sharps. Then another pair of socks. This is also by another lovely friend of mine, who is Julie of the Sweet Sparrow Yarns Etsy shop, and she also has the Sweet Sparrow Knits podcast. And this is on her nuthatch base in the Garden Rose colorway. So my camera stopped recording, I had to restart a new segment, and Hugo's come to join. Hey buddy, I think everyone missed seeing you last week. You've been sleeping all morning on the chair, haven't you? This little one has, I say little one, he's huge. This cat has taken over my IKEA chair, and I've been relegated to the sofa most of the time. Hey? You? No. Perry's been trying to impose a no cats on the dining table rule. Clearly I'm not very good at imposing that rule, but sometimes in the evenings Derek will just jump up, sit on the dining table and stare at us as we're sat on the sofa, just kind of being like, yeah, and what are you gonna do about it? It's quite funny actually. Hey, what are you gonna do? You gonna stay nuzzle a little bit? You gonna lie down? What are you choosing to do? I want to show people yarn and you're kind of just in the way right now. Hey? Okay, I'm gonna try and show you the yarn anyway. So this is how the Sweet Sparrow Yarns is knitting up. This is in the Garden Rose colorway. There we go, that's a bit better. You could get your head out of my bag. And yeah, again I'm showing you the back because I don't want to show you the texture. And I love Julie's yarn, and her dyeing and her color sense is completely different to mine. Hers is in a really good way. I'm very much bright bold colors and Julie's a lot softer, more sort of feminine, very delicate sort of color sense, which, like I said, very different to what I'm normally drawn to. But as soon as I saw the yarn that she gave me for the pattern, I was like, okay, I know exactly which pattern this one's going to be. It's perfect, it suits, I feel like it suits Julie, it suits the yarn, and it suits the theme of for that sock, for that particular one. So I'm really excited about that one as well. Again, just past the ribbing, done a couple of pattern repeats. Oh my god, this cat is ridiculous. You can't see it, but he's just like, oh, this is ridiculous. It's so cute. I can't move the camera right now, otherwise I would show you, but he's snuggling one of the acquisitions that I have to show you later, and it is ridiculous. I'm gonna see if I can take a picture on my phone and show you really quickly, just because he's being so stinking cute. Hey, are you gonna? Oh no, he's up. Okay. Anyway, so the last work in progress I have to show you is not actually knitting, it's crochet. So I mentioned last week that I was considering doing a crochet baby blanket, and yeah, so I took on a lot of the advice that you guys gave me. Thank you so much to everyone who gave me such great advice. There was some really interesting tips and comments. A few people suggested that I go down a hook size, and some people suggested that I try a single crochet chainless foundation rather than a double crochet chainless foundation. Just all sorts of things like that I found really helpful. And so after doing a bit more research and ordering a new hook in the smaller size, that's what I did. And in my big rainbow bag here, I will show you my progress. Hey? No, Hugo, there's not stuff in here for you. Can you? Alright. So first up I'll show you the hook. So I've just got a 5mm clover, I think it's a H hook. Yeah, H, 5mm clover armor crochet hook. Just got it off Amazon. Really nice and easy. Hey, why are you being so needy this morning? You're not normally like this, except when I'm podcasting. It's the only time it's like this. So that's the hook I'm using. What I actually did was I did the chainless crochet cast on, single crochet cast on, with the 5.5mm hook that I had, and then switched to the 5mm hook for the actual crochet, just to give it a bit more stretch. And I'm really enjoying how it's turned out. So this is how far I am so far. You can see it's not a massive blanket, but it was never intended to be a huge blanket. I'm doing it fingering weight held double, so it's essentially a worsted weight crochet granny stripe blanket. And you can see the bottom edge here, which is the chainless cast on. It is super stretchy, and it matches the stretch in the rest of the blanket as well. And because I did it in a size up, because I was finding when I was doing the chainless crochet chain, that it was still a little bit tight if I did it in the same hook, just because I'm new to crochet and I'm not quite confident with it yet. But I found it really easy to do, the chainless single crochet, chainless foundation. Terminology, I'm still getting used to it. And yeah, I've just been really enjoying working it up. And like I said last time, I'm doing it in a sort of gradient of rainbow colours. So started with the red section, and I did a wider red section, which I'll explain in a second. Red section is this yarn from Geektastic Fibres, which I showed you last week. It's the red in my Ledger colorway. Then I blended, it's actually quite close here, blended the red with the orange, and the orange is just a Lion Brand Sockies in the Circus Peanut colorway. And then I had an orange section, and then I've just finished the orange and yellow section, and the yellow is just a Regia 4-ply. So a couple of things. I was somewhat limited. The reason why I have so much red left over is I was somewhat limited by my yellow and orange colours, because I was using the Regia and the Lion Brand Sockies. Those were yarns that I sort of kept and had dipped into over time to use for contrasting heels and toes on socks. So I only had about 60 grams of each of those colours left. So I sort of did the maths on it, and I figured each every 2 rows of the granny stripe pattern, so every one way and back, when I'm holding it double, uses about 10 grams or just under 10 grams. And in the mottled sections, each there and back will only use about 5 grams of each colour. So I did the maths, and with only 60 grams, I knew I could only get 3 or basically 6 stripes, 3 back and forths in the colour held double, plus 3 stripes before and after in the mottled sections for my 60 gram skeins. So that kind of determined the depth of and width of the blanket. So I cast on, or chained a foundation, rode, whatever you call it, 92 stitches, and then I followed the Attic 24 granny stripe pattern. A few people also suggested as a way to minimize the holes is to not do the chains between the clusters. The Attic 24 pattern doesn't have you do chains between clusters, so I already wasn't doing that. But this is coming up much better, much tighter gauge, and fewer holes between the stitches. The size of the blanket, it is about 65 to 70 centimeters across, so it's about 24-27 inches across, which is a pretty, like I said, it's not massive, but it was never going to be massive. I would have done it wider if I had full 100 gram skeins of all the colors, but like I said, the yellow and orange, I only had 60 grams of each, so I was limited by that. And I did a bigger red section at the bottom because the red was the starting color, and I wanted to have a bit more of that in the blanket than just and because I had more of it as well. And I'll probably do the same with the purple at the other end. I'll have it be a few rows wider as well to kind of nicely bookend the whole thing. And I showed you the other colors that I was going to be using last week, so I'm not going to pull them all out, they're in the bag, but I need to wind them up. And then yesterday I was trying to figure out what I was going to use for a border. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a border or not, but because it's not that wide, I figure if I add a border to it, then that kind of increases the size overall by at least a couple of inches in each direction. So and I'm kind of thinking of this being as more of like a stroller type blanket for the baby to use. It's a good width for a stroller, I think, at the moment, and if I add a border it might make it bigger, so I might use it around the house or something as well, so we'll see. I'll see how big it is once it's finished. But for a border, I was thinking, I have this lovely yarn from Primrose Yarn Company, which is actually the next 3 colours are all from Kelsey of Primrose Yarn Company as well. But this is on her sport base, and she doesn't actually carry this base anymore. And it's an 80/20 superwash merino nylon, so nice and hard wearing. So that was the thing, I was going through my stash and initially I was going for a grey. So I just want a neutral grey to border the rainbow blanket with. I don't want anything crazy because it's just gonna take away from it. And surprisingly, I don't have any grey superwash yarn in my stash, which is very strange. I have quite a few skeins of grey yarn of neutrals, but none of them are superwash. And everything else in this blanket is superwash. It is for a baby. I want something that's going to be relatively easy to care for. I mean, even if I'm only going to be washing it on like a delicate cycle anyway, but I'd rather it all be superwash in the mix if it's going to be like that. So yeah. So then I saw these two skeins and I thought that will work, and it's a sport weight, so even if I hold it double, it's it'll be slightly thicker, but it's fine for an edging. I think it'll be okay. Hugo, why are you licking my arm? What? He's a weirdo. So these two skeins in her Snow Owl colorway, really lovely sort of neutral base with some speckling of black in there as well. So I think this will go quite nicely as the border for the blanket. So that's where I'm at, what I'm thinking. I did the calculations. I did the sort of planning out for the blanket, and with the color changes and everything, there are 13 sections to the blanket. I have done 4 sections in the blanket, and I did the maths, and if I do 1 section every day, I will be crocheting the border on my due date. So we will see how that goes. This was supposed to be one of the projects I take to the hospital with me, but it's actually been something I've been enjoying working on in the evenings after Perry's gotten home, and we're just sort of relaxing, watching some TV in the evening, and it's just been a nice one to pick up and not have to think about too much and work on. There's another siren going by. Okay, I'm going to take that as a sign to take a break, and then I will be back with acquisitions. So hopefully the sirens will lay off for a little while. Okay, back now with some acquisitions. But I'm not sure if acquisitions is the right term for this segment anymore, because this isn't stuff that I've purchased, this is stuff that people have sent me, so, or sent for the baby as well, I guess. But these are just lovely things that have come in the mail. Where to begin? I did get a couple of packages from some viewers with stuff purely for the baby, and so I'm not going to show those on the podcast mainly because I've already put them all away. I had one package that came in last night with stuff for the baby, but I hadn't put it away yet, so I thought I'd show it to you really quickly. And this is from the lovely Laura, who has the Corner of Knit and Tea podcast, which is a really lovely podcast, especially if you're also into spinning, because she does quite a bit of spinning. And also she doesn't, her podcasts are quite short, so if you don't have a lot of time, hers are always a great one because they're quick little snippets to watch. So she sent me some lovely things for the baby, including some hand knit washcloths in 3 lovely colours, which will be really handy because I've knit the baby a couple of washcloths, but otherwise we haven't actually purchased any, so these will be very, very handy. Thank you so much, Laura. And then I got a package from the lovely Emma, who has the Wool Fiend yarn company. She sent me 2 beautiful skeins of yarn, one for me and one for a giveaway. These beautiful purple and green, and the purple is, they're both on her 80/20 sock base, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards, 100 grams, fingering weight. Sort of your standard 80/20 blend, and it's very soft, nice sort of high twist plied structure to it. And the purple is Emma's purple, and the green is Lothlorien. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I think I'm going to be keeping the green, and I'll be using the purple for a giveaway. I really, really like both of them, but I'm just absolutely enamored by this little section in the green. So I think the green will have to be a nice pair of socks at some point, and then the purple will be for a giveaway. So thank you so much, Emma, for those. She also sent me some slow cooker recipes, which was amazing. Thank you so much. She printed out a few things and had like a grocery list on the front and all that, so that was amazing. Thank you so much. She also included some lavender moon soap, always handy. Perry actually really likes bars of soap to use in the bathroom and stuff, so these are always really handy. And it smells really good. As soon as I opened the box, the smell of lavender that came out of it was incredible. And then Emma also really, really sweetly sent me and the baby some jewelry. So she sent us a matching, I'm not going to take them out of the bag right now, but a matching necklace and bracelet. So the necklace will be for me and the bracelets for the baby eventually when she grows into it. But they're both made out of mother of pearl which I think is beautiful. I don't know if you can, how well you're going to be able to see that through, I don't think you're going to see that at all through the plastic, are you? Alright, I'm going to take one out. I'll take the necklace out. This is the problem now, they're slightly tangled, but it's okay, I'll untangle that later. Really cute little pendant on a chain, and there's a little bracelet for the baby. Like I said, eventually when she grows grows up a little bit and can wear jewelry. So yeah, that's really sweet, and thank you so much. That's incredibly generous and very, very thoughtful of you. Right, and then the last package I have to show you today, okay, I'll stop fiddling with that for now, fix it later. The last package I have to show you today is from the lovely Lauren of Lolo Did It. I don't know why, I swear there are never this many sirens during the day when I'm not recording. It seems to be a Wednesday thing. Anyway, so the lovely Lauren from Lolo Did It, I contacted her a few weeks ago to see if she'd be interested in providing yarn for one of the patterns for the sock club, and she said yes, that she would love to. So I picked out this colorway of hers, which was one that I've had my eye on for a while, and this is her the Dowager Countess colorway, and it's on her Lolo's favorite base, 80-10-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon, 100 grams, 430 yards. It's a really lovely plump yarn, and I'm just in love with these colors, purples and greens. I mean, are you really that surprised? On a lovely neutral base. And then she asked if I wanted a tonal colorway to go with it for heels and toes, and I said absolutely, but I'll leave that up to you to decide what color to send. This is actually ridiculous. And like I said, I got the windows closed. I have no idea what's going on today. Alright, that's passed. So I couldn't decide which colour to go with, and apparently neither could she, because she sent me two options to go with it. The purple one is Summer Nights, and the green one is Fortunate Sun, both also on her Lolo favourite base. So these are the three beautiful skeins. So I think I might actually end up using both for heels, toes and cuffs, but kind of mix it up a little bit, and then I might end up making something for the baby out of the leftovers, because there's going to be plenty left over from these skeins. So yeah, we shall see what that turns into. She also sent me some stitch markers and a tape measure. But on top of that, she sent a little thing for the baby, which honestly, this little stuffy is so stinking cute. And this is what Hugo was snuggling up with earlier at the beginning of the podcast when he jumped on the table. It's just so cute. It's a Voodoo You Love Me. I think that's the name of the pattern, and it's just super adorable. And yeah, it's gonna go on her little shelf with all her other stuffies. She's starting to develop quite the collection of hand knit toys, so that's really adorable. And thank you very much to Lauren for that. Okay, moving on to knit along and giveaway news. Like I did the giveaway prizes at the beginning of the podcast, but we do have some other things going on which I wanted to share with you. I've generously been donated a couple of more patterns for giveaways to be used as prizes on the podcast. The first up is from Debbie Reese of the Periscoping Sisters podcast. She's donated a copy of her latest scarf pattern, which is the Volvaire, and it's actually a really interesting construction for what would otherwise, looking at it, just be a garter stitch scarf, but the construction of it is what makes it interesting and intriguing, and I imagine really fun to knit. And I'm really looking forward to knitting that pattern actually for my dad next year, for next winter probably. So it's worsted weight or DK weight, and it uses 3 or 4 colours or more, I guess, if you wanted to, be quite flexible. And yeah, really, really fun. And I'll be using that as a pattern giveaway for a upcoming knit along. And then also another lovely viewer and designer on Ravelry. I'm really, really sorry, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce your name. I think it's Odur, she's from Iceland, and she has generously gifted me a copy, and you guys a copy, of her owl sweater pattern for children. It's just been released in English as well. It was released previously in Icelandic, but it's now also available in English in sizes from 3 to 12 months. And it's super adorable bottom up sweater with some owl cables and some very minimal sort of color work details in the yoke area. And she's offered, like I said, a copy for giveaway on the podcast, which I'll be using in an upcoming giveaway. Once I've decided which one I'll use that for, probably for the Knitting Expat Design cowl for the first drawing for that one. The other thing that I've been contacted by, the other person I've been contacted by rather, is Claire, who runs the website Beautiful Things. I actually met Claire at Fibre East last summer, and she's a very prolific like crocheter and stuff, and crafter as well. And on her website, she has started offering semi-virtual courses for teaching people how to crochet. She's offered to give away, she contacted me last week after my episode to offer to give away one of her beginner and one of her intermediate courses, and to viewers of the podcast who are eager to learn how to crochet, especially with the craze right now with granny stripe blankets and all that sort of thing. So with each course, you get a physical kit. So there is like a project bag, yarn, and the tools that you need, etc., to do the course, along with access to the course material, to the course videos online through her website. So that's what makes it semi-virtual. The virtual aspect is the actual classes online, and then the physical kit is what you get to do the class. So so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a thread in the group, and where I'll post pictures of the two kits on offer and links to the website where you can see in more detail what is included with each kit and each course. And then if you can leave a comment in that thread to let me know which course you're interested in. Would you like the beginner one or the intermediate one? And I'm sorry about all the background noise this week. And next week I will draw a winner for each, and I will put you in touch with Claire, who will then arrange to send the prize to you directly. She was going to send the prizes to me, but because she's shipping from the UK, with it might take a while for it to get here. So also, again, because I'm about to have a baby, it would be you will get your prize much quicker if she sends it to you directly than me. So and the only reason that I'm so sorry. I don't understand the sirens in New York either, I have to say. They're all different. So the only reason that the prize drawing for that giveaway will be delayed is if the baby shows up early and I don't get time to do it beforehand. Okay, so then we also have the Knitting Expat Designs year-long knit-along. So there's a chatter and FO thread, I believe, in the group for that already. All the rules and everything are listed in there for you. I'm not going to run over them again, but the first set of prizes are going to be drawn at the end of March. Like I said, I have a couple of prizes lined up for that and a few others that have arrived since then, so I'm going to sort of organise that in the next couple of weeks, and then in a future, probably in the first podcast after I've had the baby, I will share what those prizes are, and if I don't get around to it, I will post pictures into the threads in the group so you guys can see what the prize is going to be for the first prize drawing. Then the other knit along that's going to be starting is the Sock Pattern Club, which I've talked about a bit at the beginning of the episode, but there is a chatter, like I said, there is a chatter thread in the group already for it. I've been popping in, answering questions and stuff like that throughout. There was a couple of questions about why the price is showing up differently for some people than what I said it would be, and more likely than not it's because of VAT. Ravelry has a system where it automatically calculates the VAT that different countries impose on online pattern purchases, mostly in Europe, and so that's just something automatic that I can't control or change. So I'm sorry about that, but that is just the way that is. And I've also gone back and edited the first post in that thread to put in answers to frequently asked questions. The main one I've had at the moment was about whether or not people could use a different heel than the heel that's going to be in the patterns. Like, do you have to use the modified heel flap adjustment and the German short row heel for it to count for the knit along? And the answer is no, you don't have to do that. Those are options. I know heels can be very particular preferences. People have very particular preferences for what heels they like in their socks and what toes they like, etc. So I've never designed my patterns for socks where the pattern is integrated into the heel, because then that limits people's choices, and I'm all about people having as much flexibility and as much choice with my patterns as possible. You'll have noticed if you've knit a couple of my patterns that for the most part, most of them are incredibly adaptable. They're changeable, customizable. They're whether they be socks or shawls, I try to make them as flexible as possible in how they're written up and how the instructions are provided, so that you can make whatever adjustments you would like to them. So yeah, that's just my general philosophy with designing, is to make things, I kind of feel like a pattern is more like a guideline. And that's kind of how I've always treated knitting when I started, was patterns were more like guidelines, and that's kind of how I ended up designing, was because I started making changes to existing patterns and modifying things, and it just went from there. So yeah, basically no, you don't have to use the heel. You can use an afterthought heel, you can use a fish lips kiss heel, you can use the heel flap and gusset. You can use whatever kind of heel you like. It's totally up to you. So moving on to the questions and suggestions section. I've only had a couple of questions this week. So first up was from Sister F, and she says, in honor of being official US residents, I would love to hear your, and Perry's if he's willing, best American accents. I'm not going to do that, just because I don't know, I always feel really self-conscious about doing those sorts of things, and sometimes it just happens by accident, and inevitably it's going to start happening at some point once we've been here long enough. But I'm not entirely comfortable doing that, if that's okay. And she also says, I know you don't talk about other podcasts much anymore, but I'd love some suggestions to keep me occupied while you're out with the baby. I don't necessarily talk about podcasts in the way that I used to. Every now and again, if I've started watching a new one that I really like, I will talk about it on the podcast at the beginning. Otherwise, I do occasionally mention other podcasters throughout the episode, and podcasts are always linked in the show notes and episode threads of the ones I have mentioned. This is getting beyond ridiculous now. I'm almost done, I promise. And also, if you're looking for more inspiration than that, if you go to my Vogue Knitting Live vlog video on YouTube, I have a whole bunch of podcasters and their podcast channels linked in the description box under that video. All of them are great podcasts that I enjoy watching on the regular. So you can go and check that list out there as well. I'm not going to sit here and just rattle off a list of names, because that gets quite boring. But those are a couple of places where you can find podcast suggestions from me. Then next question is from the Lady Katie 19X, and she says, I'm a self-professed dog person and recently moved in with my boyfriend who has a cat. The cat seems scared of me. Tips on getting a cat to like you more. I find this quite funny, but my number one tip is just ignore the cat. I find that if you try to give cats in general, if you try to give them too much attention, they don't like it and they'll run away. But if you ignore them and let them approach you in their own time, then that sort of helps to build that trust. Also, I would say don't approach them from behind. Make sure they can see you coming. Like, if you're going to approach the cat, don't surprise them. Try not to sort of just try not to surprise them. Another suggestion that I have is be the person they associate with good things. So if you're visiting your boyfriend or something like that, then when you're there, you be the person that feeds them, that puts their food out or gives them treats and plays with them, or plays with the toys with them. If they start associating you with good things like food, then they will quickly be your friend. I find with Derek, for example, Derek's very slow to trust people, new people. He's generally quite scared of strangers, and he's gotten a lot better now than he ever used to be. But it still takes him a lot longer to warm up to people than Hugo does. So, but usually, if someone is got some treats for him, or if someone's fed him a couple of times, he's like, okay, now I associate you now with food, and now you're my best friend. And well, that's just, you know, one example, but generally you want to be associated as being a good thing in that cat's life, I guess. So yeah, try being the person that feeds them, and let the cat see you being the one getting the food and putting the food out and stuff like that. So I think that would definitely help. That, and maybe just like having a toy, like one of those mice on a stick things that cats like to chase. And if all else fails, just ignore the cat until the cat warms up to you naturally, and sometimes it just takes some time. So I hope some of that is helpful. If anyone else has tips on how to get a cat to like you, feel free to leave them in the episode thread. And then the final question I have is from Silja Cardell on Ravelry, and she says, "Hi Mina, thank you for a very entertaining podcast. You're most welcome. I'm so lucky to have been invited on a quick trip to London. Where do I want to go if I want to see some lovely yarn and fabric? I've heard about Loop and sew over it. Can you recommend anywhere else? Is Loop really the only yarn store in London worthy of a visit?" No, it's not the only yarn store. I would also recommend going to visit iKnit in South London, or it's near Waterloo Station. It's a lovely little yarn store, very different to Loop, but equally lovely place to visit, very friendly, and they also have a couple of puppies that live in the, not live, but they're the owner's dogs who are in the shop most of the time during the day. So I would definitely recommend visiting iKnit as well. If you only have a small amount of time to visit only one place, then I would say go to Loop, just because of the aesthetic of the store, I guess. But iKnit is equally a lovely store, and I really enjoy visiting whenever I'm back in London as well. So I hope that answers your question. And if you do have any questions for me, then feel free to pop into the questions and suggestions thread and ask away. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the final section now, which is week in review. And I'm going to try and keep this quick because it's been quite a lot of filming today. So we finally got the photos up on our wall. You can probably just about see in the dark background there. And I posted a picture on Instagram, and we put up a couple of other frames. There's one there above our shoe rack. There's one here next to me on the wall, and a couple dotted around other places. We have a couple of other bigger pictures to hang up, but we don't have frames for them at the moment, so those are waiting to be framed. But it feels so good to have the photos up finally and getting those done. It took a while. That photo wall behind me there, that one took a couple of hours on Sunday to do, and it was actually quite quick compared to the first time we did it. It was quick because I actually had a photo of what it looked like in our apartment in Dubai, and I just used that as a reference, and we put it up pretty quickly based off of that. And those are all IKEA frames. They're actually pretty cheap IKEA frames, the really sort of thin, lightweight ones, just because we were using these, we've been using the command strips to hang them up on the wall, and they're kind of like Velcro, so we can actually move them around and change their places. If we want to switch out the locations of some of the frames, we can switch them out quite easily. And also when you're renting, you want to leave as few marks and nail holes and stuff in the walls as possible, so those come off quite cleanly and they don't damage paint and stuff like that, so they're great for renting. And yeah, really liked it. And there's still quite a bit of space around those frames, and on that back wall there where the other lamp is, where we can sort of expand the gallery wall, I guess, a little bit. Hey buddy, who goes back? He might come up in a second. But so I'm thinking of getting some more frames from IKEA to sort of expand that a little bit, and also some of the photos in those frames need to be updated, and I think the photos in I haven't updated the pictures in those frames in I think over 3 years. So I think once the baby's born and we have some baby photos, I'm gonna change out some of the pictures and update a bunch of them as well and get some more frames. So that's the idea behind that. Like I said, baby's pretty much ready to go. She's dropped, she's engaged, whatever the terminology is, and we're just waiting for D-Day. Final countdown, last few days, just taking it easy. My feet have finally swollen up. I've been waiting for this day to happen throughout the pregnancy. But the other day we were, we were watching TV or something, and I put my feet up and I was just like, there we go. My feet, my toes look like little cocktail sausages. It's really quite funny. I don't really add salt to my food. I had a few people say to me, don't add salt to your food, but for the most part I don't. When I'm cooking, I don't add salt to what I'm eating anyway. But yeah, I will try. I've also, I think one of the reasons why my feet haven't swollen up before is because I tend to sit with my feet elevated a lot anyway because of my back pain. The position that I find the most comfortable is sort of leaning back with my feet up. It's the position where I have the least pressure on my lower back. So I've had my feet elevated a lot throughout this pregnancy. In the last couple of days though, I've been on my feet a lot more during the day, so I think that's kind of had a bit of an impact with it as well. But yeah, there's no pain involved or anything. It's just a little bit of swelling, which isn't that bad. There isn't really anything left on my to-do list that's urgent for before the baby gets here. There are a few things I would like to get done, like a few patterns I'd like to have written up and drafted and ready to go, because then it's easier to just edit them than to have to write them up from scratch once the baby's here. And I've started stocking our freezer. There's one I've done a shepherd's pie that's been portioned out and is in the freezer now, and I've got another one that a lentil soup that I'm doing today. And then I think I'll be doing a chili tomorrow, which will also go into the freezer. I'm not too worried about doing too many things, to be honest, because my mum's going to be coming over. She's flying over 5 days after my due date, so if the baby's on time, then we're only going to have to go a couple of days on our own before my mum gets here, after I get out of hospital. And if the baby's late, well, it's quite likely my mum will be here before I even need to tuck into the freezer stuff. So, and my mum's a really good cook. She cooks amazing food, so I'm not too concerned at all. Otherwise, that's it really. We have some friends coming around this weekend. I think some of Perry's school friends are coming over Friday night. Then I've got some of my knitting friends coming over on Saturday. And then Sunday, one of my best friends from the UK, she and her boyfriend are going to be in New York the whole of next week. And it was just so happened, it was a coincidence, because they'd already planned their trip before we even told anyone where we were moving to. So we're going to get to see them on Sunday, which will be really fun, and hopefully we'll get to see them again during the week at some point, but I'm obviously not making any plans depending on what happens. So we'll see. It'll be really nice to see them, and yeah, so that's that. That pretty much sums up what's been going on around here and what is still going on around here. Don't know if you can see Hugo. There he is. Hey buddy. I have to get you off this table, otherwise Perry's going to tell me off for letting you on here. It's hard to say no to this face. And Derek's just sleeping on the chair next to the table off to the side here. He doesn't like the camera. Okay, I think that sums it up for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I have to go now and get some editing done, and yeah, thank you so much. I will hopefully be back with you next week. Who knows? This may or may not be the last episode before baby comes, but I have a feeling she's going to be late, so I'll probably be back next week. And so until next time, take care. Bye.